this division, we'll finish up with the Redskins. As I mentioned at the top of the episode, Redskins and Cowboys, we had tied in our predictions for where they're going to finish, so we're ranking them tied for third. Do you want to go ahead, Chris, and just give us your Redskins opinion here before we get started into the positions?
Well, I think as a whole, it's a fairly underrated roster. The addition of Alex Smith, a lot of people like Kirk Cousins, some people don't, but the important thing is to remember, and I have this nice little stat here on the screen, so thanks for that. They were 7th in the NFL last year in points per game from the quarterback position. I don't see that dropping at all. I really don't. Alex Smith is more than a viable replacement for Kirk Cousins, and the Redskins see him as a substantial upgrade. I'm not kidding. Jay Gruden said, I've never worked with anybody more experienced or more proven than Alex Smith. And when asked point blank, is he an upgrade over Kirk Cousins, he said, absolutely. How they feel about Alex Smith. They love him.
I never got why they hated Kirk Cousins.
Same here.
I mean, it's probably because he didn't play ball with him. That whole front office is just a bunch of high school drama shit. As a whole, Darius Geis is an obvious upgrade to whatever they had last year in Rob Kelly and Samaje Perine. Chris Thompson's still going to do his thing. The big upgrade, and I'm sorry if I'm going out of order here, is going to be coming from Josh Doctson, I think. Again, more coach speak. When Jay Gruden was asked about Josh Doctson and his development, he said basically that Kirk Cousins couldn't handle Josh Doctson. He couldn't handle it. I'm not kidding. This is a quote. He can't handle Josh Doctson. He would not throw the ball how Josh Doctson and Jay Gruden wanted the ball to be thrown to him. He wouldn't do it. So yeah, I think the targets for Josh Doctson are going to go exceptionally up, and the guy who's overvalued is Jamison Crowder.
Oh, man.
Because
He may have words.
People see the slot wide receiver for Alex Smith, right? And they're like, oh, Alex Smith, good in the short to intermediate range, and that's Jamison Crowder. Well, that's not wrong, but historically, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, I'm sorry. Like I said, I was working long today. But historically, Alex Smith does not target slot receivers very much. It's a common misconception. He likes the tight end and he likes the outside receivers. So I think Jamison Crowder is a little overrated, and if I'm praying Jordan Reed can stay healthy, man. That's the guy I want.
I think a lot of people are, because the stock has fallen so much that Jordan Reed's a great flyer this year, I think.
If you can stay healthy, that's
if
it.
he
That's
can
it.
stay on the field, man, he's going to light it up. He will be back up there in the top 3 tight ends.
Well, and if he's not, I'll buy all the Vernon Davis shares this year.
I already have all the Vernon Davis. I'm sorry.
He owns all of them in all leagues.
All of them.
All of them.
All of them.
All right. Well, let's kind of get back to the beginning here that you've gone through the team. Alex Smith, I'm a little bit more tepid than you are on him just because prior to last year, his production had been pretty consistent in the mid to low quarterback 2 range, where he almost did that every single year. He was in kind of the QB 15 to 20 range. And that was with Andy Reid, who is a very, very good offensive coach. So I don't necessarily have the same expectations that they come in as a top 7 quarterback points per game wise here, but I could definitely see him being a very, very capable streamer. He's got some weapons I like, but don't necessarily love, even though I do own some shares of Josh Doctson. What do you guys think of Alex Smith?
I'm right there with you. It's like the Matt Ryan thing from the year before, to me anyway, to where you saw
this stands out a little bit.
Yeah, to where this stands out against the rest of his career, and he's going to a place where I want to believe in Josh Doctson. He was given the opportunity last year. He didn't do it. And say you about Cousins. I'm a Kirk Cousins believer. I love Kirk Cousins. So I do think that's coach speak. I fully expect that. I just lost my train of thought. It must have been that shot I took right in front of the camera earlier. Anyway, I want Josh Doctson to blow up, and what Chris said was right. The misconception is he uses a slot receiver, and that's not the case. You look last year, Tyreek Hill wasn't running out of the slot. Tyreek Hill was playing outside, and that's who he used. Same thing with Macklin when he was there. So I do agree with that misconception about Jamison Crowder. But as far as Alex Smith goes, I'm on the streamer train. I'm not going to draft him, but I think that if you need a fill-in, if you need a guy due to injury, something like that, Alex Smith is one of the first names I'm looking at.
Yeah, he's my QB 21. And it's not because I don't like him. It's just there's a lot of like Nick said, I think earlier in the show, there's from that QB 10, 11-ish range all the way down to even QB 25. There's so many streamer options there. I think for Smith, what hurts him is that outside of last season, he's always been, as Nick said, that QB 2-3. And, just looking at his air yards, he went up from, I have my notes pulled up here. He went up from, he finished 8th in yards, 8th in air yards with 2,130, and then he finished 26th in 2016 with 1,659. Guy that doesn't like to force or at least push the ball downfield a whole lot too much, which is why I like Jamison Crowder, because he can work that intermediate range. Or Doctson, we don't know yet what he is. And they also brought in Paul Richardson, which they over fucking paid for, which means they have a role in mind for him somewhere. Like, they're not just going to let him sit on the bench with that type of contract. So,
yeah. And the other note too, Crowder did run outside a whole lot more last year than he had the previous years, and he is very good at getting open, which Smith does to like. So he may find work on the outside, not necessarily in the slot, to kind of
target
twist that
separation is
narrative.
insanely good.
Do you mean to tell me that quarterbacks like open receivers?
Most of them. A few don't seem to care, like Brett Favre.
I'll say Brett Favre may like
the majority of them do like that.
if
yes.
you're too wide open, he's just good.
Or the more modern example, Jameis Winston.
Yeah, Winston.
Blake Bortles.
All right, moving on to the running back core. We already touched on Darius Geis and Chris Thompson. I think it's general consensus those will be your top two guys. Geis being more first, second down thumper, and then Thompson being your third down pass catcher.
Yep. That's exactly what I expect.
I love Darius Geis. So I have him as an RB 18. I know I'm a lot higher than most people. His ADP is right at the 409, which I think is pretty fair for him. I think he'll definitely not be the primary pass catcher, but I think he'll have enough work in the passing game where he could be something. Like, you look at Alfred Morris, the last time the Redskins had a 1,000-yard rusher, I mean, he's not obviously going to be using the passing game much, but, I think Geis could have that opportunity to be better than what Morris was that year.
I mean, Morris is a terrible pass catcher. Geis is actually
I read that
okay.
right now. It's going to mix it all up.
But yeah, Geis I expect to probably do similar to Fournette last year in terms of his pass catching, which is, I think, in the 35-ish range.
On pace for like 40 if you would have said healthy.
All right. Anything to add there on Geis or Chris Thompson, Chris?
No, not really. I just don't think this is going to be a high volume running offense as a whole. So I would temper expectations there. Geis as a whole, when you said running back 18 and you said you were higher on him, and I know you're talking about redraft, I was kind of surprised by that. I feel like some people like him a little bit more, but I think where you had him is very fair. And then I do like Chris Thompson. He was just hyper efficient last year, but he's so good, man. He's really good at what he does. I love watching him play.
I love Chris Thompson. I just
unfortunately
can't stay healthy, and I expect that efficiency to kind of drop on a bit. 7.8 yards per touch and a plus 48.2 production premium, fourth best. I mean,
yeah, he was
he's gonna
nuts
have
when
to
he was
do
healthy.
that again to be up where he was.
All right, and then between Kelly and P. Ryan, if something happened to Geis or Thompson, who's the one you want?
Matt Jones.
Matt Jones.
Matt Jones.
Back from the dead. All right.
P. Ryan.
All right. Outside wide receivers, we did touch on Doctson a little bit here, but it sounds like we're betting on Doctson over Richardson in our rankings.
Yeah, I'm betting on Doctson over Richardson all day. Richardson was incredibly inconsistent last year. He was saved a lot by the big play. Doctson, at least when he had the chance, he wasn't fantastic. He didn't blow up, but he was all right. He did
showed us some flashes.
He wasn't crap all the time, so.
Scored 6 touchdowns, which is nice. Hopefully we can get that closer to 8 to 10 this year. So I got Doctson in my, I think, around low wide receiver 3. I think he's around 35 for me. Where do you guys have him at?
Oh, man. But I'm also high on Crowder. I have Doctson at 49.
I'm sorry, I have him a little lower. I have 44. So
okay, that makes more sense. His ADP is 11-12, which I think is fair for that. Paul Richardson, though, I have him at 59. His ADP is 1407.
I also have him at 59.
Yes.
Richardson's a guy I don't have a ton of faith in, especially when I think Crowder and Doctson are both better receivers. And Reed, when healthy, will be the number 3 target, if not 2.
Not 1.
And then Jordan Reed, where do you guys got him coming in at, since we've talked about Crowder a bunch?
He was my 9, I think.
Same here.
I think he was 10 for me, but around that range where he'll be one of my priority grabs if I miss the top 8.
His ADP is 808.
I will not own him in many places.
No. I was going to say, I think because of the scarcity of the tight end position, people are going to be reaching for some of those middle tier tight ends. We're going to see guys like Reed and Burton and Kittle, Ebron and Doyle, and those guys kind of rise up more than they should because of it.
People will panic draft him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Anything else you want to add on the Redskins before we wrap up the NFC East here?
Nope. Maybe as a dynasty spin, Trey Quinn. He's been my number one stash in all of my leagues. I probably have him in 12 to 15 leagues, honestly.
How many leagues do you play in?
Over 20, probably.
Oh, man.
Off the top of my head, something like 20.
He's a fantasy football junkie, but don't call him an expert.
Yeah, I'm no expert, man. Don't say that. No, Trey Quinn, Jay Gruden wanted him as early as the 4th round. He was pounding the table for him. And Bruce Allen just would not pull the trigger until it kind of finally came to the last pick of the draft. And he's like, all right, I guess I'll take him.
I love
Jay
Trey
Gruden was
Quinn.
this guy.
I also love Trey
Really
Quinn.
good player. I was watching some of them, and I don't usually watch a whole lot of film unless it's someone who interests me. He's really good. And Jamison Crowder's a free agent after this year. He's probably going to command more money than what they want to pay him, especially with some of their contracts coming up, like Brandon Sheriff, who's going to get paid money. I think Trey Quinn could be starting slot wide receiver as early as 2019.
I'm really glad that Brandon Scherf is going to get paid money instead of like chocolate bars. But
Well, he probably wants chocolate bars.
probably. I do love Trey Quinn, though. We all love Trey Quinn here. We thought that when we watched his tape, he kind of had a little bit of Cooper Kupp to a lot of us, what he did last year out of the slot, and we were really surprised to see him go Mr. Irrelevant. But I screamed at my TV, jumped up, and celebrated when he was Mr. Irrelevant because he absolutely deserved to be drafted, and he should have been taken higher.
He should have been taken higher.
It gives him that little chip on his shoulder, which I like in players. Some people don't, but I really do. It shows that they care and they have something to play for.
Yeah, he was the second biggest head scratcher wide receiver in this draft. The only bigger one was Lazard.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see injury. Okay.
I had to
I
figure
agree
out
with
what
you.
you meant by head scratcher,
Yeah, I was like,
but once you
about
said
what?
that, I agreed completely.
Yes, completely.